Oh my God. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Michelle Francis YouTube channel. I am here to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Here I am. This is Oxford Street, by the way. This is the very famous Oxford Street. I'm just, you see the shiny gold bit down there? That's Selfridges. So I'm just 2 seconds away from Selfridges. I've got nice shelter. They're doing some building works here, so I've got a nice shelter from the rain and thing. People leave me food, all kind of thing there, and water. You know what I mean? And a whole heap of food. But they not left me no money door. Them never left me no money door. Anyway, let me tell you something. Me, I'm not fucking guilty. Let me tell you, I was raped, and the police. I don't know. Obviously, this woman in Sutton, whoever she is, she was definitely involved. Now, I'm not sure, but she could be the adopted white, middle-class white mother of my youngest child's father, who I met obviously after. I didn't know Tayo at the time. Now, hear the joke. There's a whole heap of thing in this argument, you know. I'm not guilty of nothing. There's no way I'm fucking sexually attracted to white people altogether. Whether they're children, whether they're adults, whether they're good looking, whether they're rich, whether they're poor. I'm just not attracted to white people at all in any way, shape or form. You know what I mean? Especially some dirty little nasty white girls and white boys. Fuck off. Are you fucking serious? That's but the however, on the other hand, that is my sister Yvonne. She has always been attracted to this dirty little white boy because in the 1980s, my sister Yvonne, who's like a year older than me, she used to work in Henry's Wine Bar in Leeds. And she used to pick up these dirty little underage white boys. And because she was working behind the bar as the manager, she used to ply them with free drinks. And they used to come all the time, and bring their little school friends. And then she used to take them home and fuck them. So in the 1980s and I would say early 90s, there was police investigations by Yorkshire Police on Yvonne. Yvonne had a mysterious white friend who suddenly came into Yvonne's life. This was a white female undercover police. Now, I could tell straight away that was an undercover police, and I didn't even know much about what undercover police looked like then. But I knew as soon as I looked at her straight away, and the way she just suddenly, oh, I'm Yvonne's friend, Yvonne's best friend. So on one of the visits that I went to Leeds, it was either I think it was the early 90s, very early 1990s. There was a white girl, a white woman, a young white woman, very stiff, like a police officer. She was just like a police officer, but in plain clothes. She was suddenly Yvonne's best friend. But she never used to talk to Yvonne. She used to come to Yvonne's house and sit down as if she's investigating and watching everything and clocking and observing. She was never really into Yvonne. And sometimes I caught her with a grimace in her face, like she was scorning Yvonne. She didn't eat from Yvonne. She didn't drink from Yvonne. But yet she was supposed to be her best friend. They didn't go nowhere. She just come to the house and sit down and didn't talk. And Yvonne, my sister, it was very stupid and backward. Because I said, where this white friend come from? And she's not relaxed. She's stiff like a police officer. Like she's on an investigation, like she's on a mission. So she was investigating Yvonne there must have been some complaints that Yvonne was sleeping with underage white boys and plying them, underage white boys, with alcohol. And they were kept bringing in their friends, underage friends, to get free drinks from Henry's Wine Bar in Leeds. And they must have been talking. You know, the little white boy then when they're at school, the school friend, there's this black woman, yeah? And she's giving us loads of drinks at the Henry's Wine Bar. Free drinks, you can come there and get free drinks and then she'll fuck you. She'll suck your cock as well. So this must have got back to the teachers. And it was reported to the police and they did undercover investigation on Yvonne from the late 80s in the early 90s. And this is how Yvonne met her baby father, which is a white Scottish man who was a social worker at the time. He was also working for the system. And they must have investigated and said that she's backward and dance. And that's how they must have concluded that she just desperate for a man, desperate for a fuck. So they send Ashley's father, which is a Scottish white man, young Scottish white man, who was a social worker at the time, who came and fuck her. And he just made Yvonne know at the time that, hey, this is just a one night stand. Because remember, it's been already exposed. That's what they do in the system. You know what I mean? When they could get their leg over on somebody in this, one of the patients or the inmates or the, you know what I mean? They do. They just come and fuck them and get us. Well, fuck it. Let me get, you know what I mean? Let me get piece of the action and go about my business. They do that all the time. So this is what happened to Yvonne. And Yvonne fall in love with it. She first get pregnant, and because he only had a one night stand, he never came back. But she got pregnant straight away with Ashley, my nephew, who's mixed race, half Jamaican, half Scottish. So she had the baby. She never saw him at all. She had the baby, and then she kept contacting him. So he came round and gave her another fuck. And guess what? She got pregnant again. So this time he said he forced her aggressively and violently, have that fucking abortion now. Get rid of it, else I'll fucking kick it out myself. So she went and had an abortion with the second child, which was Ashley's sister or brother. So he never wanted to get pregnant because she's a pedophile. Remember, he only got in contact with her, which was not a coincidence, because she was being investigated for fucking little teenage underage schoolboys at school, coming to Henry's Wine Bar in Leeds where she worked as a manager. You know what I mean? And she couldn't get a man. So he just thought, well, I might as well just get a fuck, because a fuck is a fuck, innit? And then she got pregnant the first time, and then he disappeared because he said he told her it's a one night stand. He doesn't want a commitment with her. Then he fuck her again, and she get pregnant again, and he physically and violently forced her to have an abortion. And then when she had an abortion, he never saw her again. Now she told me she wondered why he never ever came back. Because he was there, put there by the police, but she's stupid. The police said, just give her a fuck and a shag and she'll suck your cock and you can fuck her in the ass. You know what I mean? You know how they deal with, you know what I mean? They're a dirty white police officer there. They're just blatant like that. And that's all it was. She only met him through this pedophile investigation on her, because she is a pedophile. She was blatantly, willingly, and voluntarily, and knowing the age. She knew the age. She was aware. And she voluntarily was looking for sex with anybody. So she's a pedophile. She's reckless. She was giving them drinks, free drinks, alcohol. And they were schoolboys underage. Now, you know, if you're a manager in a wine bar, you're not supposed to serve children at school. You know what I mean? She was giving them free, plying them with alcohol to make them drunk so they would fuck her. You understand? Now, this is a form of manipulation and exploitation. And that's what she did, and she was investigated. So this white woman, young white woman that suddenly befriended her for a short, very short duration. After the investigation, this white girl disappeared. She never ever saw her or heard of her again. Her number was changed. There was she was no longer at the address she gave. Now, Yvonne never clicked that this was a police officer investigating undercover. That's why the phone number was bogus, and the address and the name of the woman was all bogus. And then after the investigation, the woman fucked off. The police officer obviously returned back to duty, formal duty, with her, outcome, her report. And Yvonne never heard or saw her again. Because I said to Yvonne, what happened to your white friend? This wasn't that long after. And Yvonne said, oh, I don't know. She just disappeared. She never ever, I never ever saw her again. She never contacted me. Her phone number was changed. Her address was changed. Yvonne never heard or saw her again. Now, that was not a friend in the first place. Remember, Yvonne never did nothing wrong to her. She was there for investigation. So Dirty Nasty Yvonne is just like Carmel Fleming in Leeds. Carmel is very ugly, just like Yvonne is very ugly, and Yvonne was prostituting from childhood. They were twins, these half-caste boys, when Yvonne was at school, and they were twins, they're tall. One of them I saw working in London on the buses, driving the buses. And they were twins, and they used to take it in turns coming to fuck Yvonne. Now, I know because one day, when I was in the evening, there was a knock on the door. So I went to open the door, and it was one of the half-caste twins. And I said, what are you doing knocking at my door? Because it was only me and Yvonne in the house. You know what I mean? I think Lisetta and Philip were young, they were in bed. So I said, what are you doing at my door? So he said, oh, I just wanted to speak to your sister. Well, what happened, them time there, when I go in the living room and the door's shut, they come in and go straight up to her room and fuck her. And Yvonne always had loads of stuff. She had record players, clothes, perfumes, you name it, everything. Where did she get that money from at school? Because we only got like £5, maybe every 2 weeks for pocket money. But if the stuff Yvonne had in her room was worth thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, and where did the fuck did Yvonne get this money from? So half the time she was going to say she was going to school, she wasn't at school at all. Yvonne was prostituting. That's why when she left school with no formal qualifications. She failed on all her exams, every one of them. Now, Yvonne was very bright and intelligent. You know, why would Yvonne fail? Because half the time she said she was going to school, she wasn't there. She was prostituting. And Yvonne was high school. Yvonne went to the City of Leeds High School. And she was prostituting all the time. Now, that was the best school in Leeds back in those days. The City of Leeds was the best school. Every child was guaranteed to come out with top results. But Yvonne came out with not even one. And she was a bookworm. You know, my dad had high hopes for her. And the dirty nasty girl was sucking man's cock and all that kind of thing. And that's where she got all the money from to buy all her stuff. So Yvonne has got loads of skeleton in her dirty closet. And to be honest with you, I thought that it was a racism towards Yvonne by the NHS, because Yvonne worked for the NHS since she left school. But now I realize that the NHS were really very nice to her, because Yvonne was investigated for having underage sex with white boys, which she was doing, and she knew of that they were underage. And she was plying them with free alcohol. Now that was very irresponsible when you're working for the NHS. You know what I mean? And Yvonne was working in a department with disabled children. I mean, she was just a secretary, but she still sometimes came into contact with the disabled children. Now, the NHS left her there for a very long time before they eventually kicked her out. Like recently, they kicked her out before, back in the days. Then they re-hired her because she put in complaint and appeal, so they felt sorry for her, you know, because they felt maybe she doesn't know, but she does know. And the NHS were actually very good to her. So it was never anything to do with her colour or discrimination against her. She should have been sacked straight away. Now, you might say, well, that's your sister, Michelle, and she's a black woman. Okay, put it this way. What if it is a white man or a white woman, and the NHS knew that they were paedophiles, and the NHS allowed them to work in the NHS with children? There would be uproar in the black community and the Asian community and the Muslim community. But when it's a black woman who's a paedophile having sex voluntarily and willingly with these underage school children, dirty little white boy them, and plying them with alcohol, because after Yvonne's job at the NHS, she would go to an evening job in the town centre at Henry's Wine Bar back in the 80s and the 90s. And Yvonne was the manager there. And Yvonne will give these young schoolboys free alcohol. That's exploiting young children and coercing them with alcohol and drink to get them drunk so she could suck their cock and fuck them. So she knew. So the NHS were really good to let her stay there, because if that was me working for the NHS, I would have sacked her straight away. Even at the beginning of the police undercover investigation on Yvonne, I would have sacked her. She would never be able to come back, no matter what. The very fact that you've been investigated for paedophilia, you will be sacked from the NHS and you will not be able to work with children. You understand? But the NHS left her because she's a black woman. So the NHS were frightened that they might get called, they might get lashback for sacking a black woman. You understand? So they left her there, but she should never have been allowed to stay there working closely with such vulnerable sections of society, which were disabled children. Some of the children were very, very disabled. And Yvonne's irresponsible behavior, negligent and irresponsible and criminal behavior. She should never have been allowed to remain working in the NHS. But I suppose the NHS were frightened that they might get accused of being racially discriminative. You know what I mean? But Yvonne should have been sacked, convicted, and put on the sex offenders register. But this country has always been soft on paedophiles. Let's face it, this country has always been soft on paedophiles. You get me? Now you might think, how can you say that about your own sister? Because listen, black people, Asian people, Arab people, Chinese people, Muslim people, every people, you have to be very careful because you know why? This situation with Yvonne, my sister, is very important. You know why? There's a lot of pedophiles. You know, like in the church, there was recently, I read a white woman called out a white man. She said her video was called the King, the Bishop, and the Pedophile. Now the pedophile is dead, but all his life he was he working high up under the Archbishop of Canterbury in the church, and he was traveling all over the world having sex with underage children and plying them with alcohol. But he was left there. So this case now was recently in the newspapers, all over the newspapers. Now listen how clever the mainstream media are. Very clever. They put it out there and everybody say, look at that. The man in the pedophile, they knew he was a pedophile because they knew. King Charles knew. This is what this white woman said. She said he knew all the time. The Archbishop of Canterbury, who was in charge of the church, he knew. But they left him. Everybody left him. Everybody knew he was having sex with underage children and plying them with alcohol. But they left him. They didn't touch him. He was never convicted. He was never sacked, and he was never sacked from his job. He was never put on the sex offenders register. Why? Because Yvonne, a black woman, she was doing it for a long time too. That's my sister. The only full black sister I have. The same mother, the same father. She was going around plying young children, underage white boys, dirty little white boy them, with alcohol and then taking them home and fucking them and sucking off their cock. And they left her, they didn't touch her. For decades and decades, she remained in her job, in her position, working closely with very, very vulnerable children. Until eventually they just sacked her and tell her to get the fuck out. You ain't getting no pension. Now, Diana Abbott took up the case because I started to go around and protest saying my sister's been sacked and she worked all her life for the NHS and she's got no pension. So Diana Abbott took the case in the parliament the other day and stood up and said, it's called the WASPI campaign for all the women of that age group that missed out on the pension, basically, the pension scheme. Now, I agree with Diane Abbott for the WASPI. That means all of the women in the UK of that age group that missed out on the pension scheme should get the pension. But should paedophiles who have not been convicted, should they get pension? No, they shouldn't. Yvonne should not get pension. Now, it's not just about Yvonne, it's about all these paedophiles. Should they be allowed to get pension? No. Decent, respectable, hard-working individuals deserve to get pension. But Yvonne does not deserve to get pension, and all them other dirty paedophile do not deserve to get pension, including Prince Andrew. Does Prince Andrew deserve to get pension? No, he fucking doesn't. He was not convicted, remember. But everybody knows he's fucking guilty. He's a paedophile. You know what I mean? And he knew that those girls were underage. He knew, he was aware when he was sticking his dick in them, just like Yvonne was aware when she was fucking them and sucking off this cock of these dirty white boys. She knew they were school children. You understand? She knew, she was aware. You understand? And then these boys don't even look big. If I remember, because I remember she showed me some little idiot boy them, and I thought, fuck, you know, look at these little dirty boy. They look like school children. They looked very young. So they won't even say they look big. They will never. She's a paedophile. Does she deserve to have pension? No, she doesn't. Does Prince Andrew deserve to get taxpayers' money to 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 fund his pension and help him to live comfortable? No, he doesn't. That's the question. So Diane Abbott is right to take this case to you know what I mean, to call for the waspy generation who missed out on the pension. But that should not include pedophiles, even though they have not been convicted. Anybody who has been investigated and for having sex with underage children, and that there is a great possibility that they knew these children were underage at the time. So we're not talking about rape. My case is a different situation. I'm not a pedophile. I'm not attracted to young children, never. But I was raped, so that's different. But Yvonne, when they're talking about cases with Prince Andrew and Yvonne, my sister, who go around bars, like Prince Andrew used to go to tramps. I heard that's where he met the young girl that he raped that sued him. He met her in tramps down the road in the Mayfair. So just like my sister Yvonne, they go around these clubs, wine bars, bars and things like that, nightclubs, looking for underage, you know what I mean, children, people, because they are easy for them to get. Now, these are people that don't really have confidence. You understand? They never really, oh, pussy hole, stop the blood clot noise. Oh, pussy hole. Batty boy. Did I see me asleep? Hey, pussy hole. They should have broke the glass, you know. Them dirty little Asian boy. They're always driving up and down, making noise. I should have smashed the glass. But anyway, the issue is they don't have confidence. So they look for these little young underage people or children so that they can, engage with. You know what I mean? And then they deliberately ply them with alcohol, to loosen them up so that it'd be easier for them to participate in the activity. You know what I mean? So Yvonne should not be included in the pension. And I'm going to make sure I fight to expose her and make sure she's not included in the pension. But all the other waspy people that deserve the pension should get it. And I'm also going to make sure Prince Andrew does not get pension neither. Amen. Hallelujah. And I love P.Diddy because P.Diddy, the first thing he did when he was, all this thing, the rubbish come to him from this dirty girl, CASSIE, big pussy CASSIE. He apologized. He said, I'm sorry. And that is very, very important. That shows so much significance in his his honor. He said, I'm sorry. I fully apologize. And he made it public. That's very important. Dirty Prince Andrew, I'm not putting him in the same category as P. Diddy, I'm not putting P. Diddy, I mean, in the same category as Prince Andrew and those dirty people there. But I'm saying when these arguments come, I'm not saying, we all know that P. Diddy is not perfect, but he apologized. He has the spirit of God in him, and he apologized. You know, he said, I'm not perfect, but I'm sorry. If I've done wrong, I'm sorry. He said that. But Yvonne, with her attitude, hey, hey, the dirty, nasty, so, hey, listen, and Prince Andrew is the same. No apology. But P. Diddy, I love you because you have the spirit of God in you and you have honor. As soon as they threw those dead, Henry Dirty Hackers, what they threw at you through the CASSIE thing, the statement thing there, you went in public on the camera in front of the mainstream media and you put out a public apology and a personal apology to CASSIE, big dirty pussy girl CASSIE. You apologize. And I love you because you have this, it shows you have an honor and you have the spirit of God in you. You understand? Oh, I know you, these situations, these, people have been framed, stitched up, set up, all kind of thing. But the point is, P. Diddy apologized straight away. And it was a very heartfelt apology, very sincere, a very sincere apology. And P. Diddy, I never know if you ever get to see my videos, but you have a spirit of God in you and you have honor. Because the first thing you did not fight it at all. You turned around and you went in front of the mainstream media and you read out a heartfelt, sincere apology. And I love you because of that. It shows me that you have God in you. Amen, people.